What is going on, everybody? It's your bro Mario coming to you with another video. Here to give my review on the brand new Sony Marvel movie, Morbius. Now, before we get into it, I just want to let y'all know, if y'all can please like and subscribe, that would mean an awful lot to me. And let's get on to the review. So Morbius is a movie about Michael Morbius, aka Jared Leto's character, who is suffering from a disease. I can't remember what disease it is, but he's suffering from this disease that's basically killing him. And so he seeks out to find a cure. And that cure ends up becoming him injecting himself with bat blood. In him doing so, it obviously transforms his body and turns him into the living vampire himself, Morbius. Now, when I first seen the trailers, honestly, I know the first trailer was released about 2 years ago, and the first look looked really good. Just the way they crafted that trailer, it grabbed me. Obviously, that's what a trailer is supposed to do, but yeah, it significantly grabbed me and got me interested. And I never thought I'd be interested in a Morbius movie, but I was. And throughout the years, they kept putting more and more stuff out, but also because they kept pushing the film back. So it was originally supposed to come out in 2019, and it ended up coming out in 2022 on April 1st, aka April Fools. And yeah, basically we were all fooled by that. Quick fact check, Morbius was supposed to come out in 2020, not 2019. And fooled we are, because this movie was, for lack of a better word, forgettable. Was it perfect? Was it amazing? Was it great? No. But it was forgettable, and at the time of seeing it, it was actually enjoyable. The movie starts off with a flashback, and then another flashback, and then present day. So that's already kind of weird how a film should start. The first flashback is him as a kid dealing with what he's going through and him meeting his best friend, Milo. And then the second flashback, it's him, I forgot the location because, like I said, this movie's forgettable, but let's just say it's somewhere in Costa Rica. It's Michael Morbius growing up, and he's in Costa Rica, and it's the shot from the trailer where he slices his hand, and all the bats are like summoned and like go around him. It's not present day. There's actually a third flashback, and that flashback takes us to him winning like a Nobel Prize that we've seen in the trailers. In the first trailer, there was stuff shown in there that wasn't in the movie. For instance, in the trailer, they showed him accepting the Nobel Prize and giving out a speech, and that wasn't in the movie. And I feel like it should have been, because although Morbius was an enjoyable film, there were some redeeming qualities that would have made it a good film, I believe. Little things like that, just him giving a speech, him having extra dialogue with the doctor, Ed Harris's character, like more dialogue, a little bit more dialogue is good because you get, more character development. And that's what this movie lacked in. Everything was just kind of shoehorned in. If this is going to be rushed, that's just the outcome you're going to get. So basically, he injected himself with the blood, and then a few moments later, he ends up turning into the vampire we all know and love. And I gotta say, from like the trailers, what drove me into this movie was the CG. The special effects, they look great to me. And yeah, I felt the same way when I saw it in the actual movie itself. The visual effects look great. The action was awesome. It just sucks that the story couldn't be as awesome as the special effects. So all mayhem ensues as Morbius is like killing all of the passengers on board. But the passengers are like basically bad guys. So, we don't really feel for them. But it's actually, the action sequence is actually pretty cool. It definitely has a horror element to it, which is badass, I think. And it worked really well. He sees what's happening to him, and so he escapes. And not before he leaves a note to his coworker slash girlfriend what's going on, and like kind of just gives her a sense of what happened and obviously where he's going to be. And so that's when Tyrese's character and his buddy come into the picture. Now, another thing, like I had mentioned about the trailers, where they showed things that weren't in the movie, this happened to be one of them, where you see a shot of Tyrese having like a robot arm. And so that's not in this movie. You don't see that, character development that would be awesome to see. The only thing that we get to refer to his robot arm is that Tyrese tells Morbius that his work helped Tyrese. That's the only mention we hear of about his arm that was shown in the trailers. And so Morbius goes back into his lab and he tries to figure out what's going on. There's like a whole montage of him figuring out his powers, which I thought was pretty neat. But I do have like a funny nitpick that he has a glass cage full of bats. It's a cylinder shape. And during that montage, he enters it, and I swear it's like the same score from Batman Begins. I mean, it's funny because obviously Batman, and Morbius is dealing with, he's a bat, basically, vampire, whatever. It's still bat affiliated. It has almost like the same score, and it's like, what the hell? Is this plagiarism? Is this allowed? But I thought that was funny. It's actually heard in two scenes. So it's in that scene where he is doing the montage and he enters the glass cylinder chamber of bats, and then like right before he's captured, I could swear it sounds just like Batman Begins. So I'm like, it doesn't make sense, but whatever, we'll just roll with it. And while he's looking for this cure, in one of the flashbacks, he's introduced to his best friend. And so his best friend is in this movie, throughout it. And he also suffers from the same disease that Morbius has. And he's looking for a cure for him too, but he's trying to figure out what's happening, what are the effects of this, and trying to learn more of it. And it's taking time away from finding that cure and also getting back to his best friend. Morbius is experimenting with himself, trying to see how long he can go without drinking blood, and his best friend walks in, which I kind of find it funny how he drinks the blood bags. Like, he grabs both of his hands like this, like we can't see him physically chugging the blood. So it's funny, every time he gets the bag, he has to, two hands, and which I now realize that probably looks wrong, but whatever. But yeah, that happened in the movie. He has to double grip it, and yeah, I just found it funny. And so Morbius is in the cage, and his buddy comes in, Milo, and he's like, what happened? This, and that. And he sees that Morbius can walk on both of his legs. And so he's like astounded by it. He's like, he wants in, and he doesn't really know what's going on, and he doesn't know what could, happen to him, the side effects of it. He just wants it. He wants to feel normal again. And Morbius kind of went the wrong way about it. He got frustrated and he just like pushed him aside, and he's like, leave now. And so that was kind of like the turn, like when he turns into a villain. And then as he's walking out, Morbius gets captured by Tyrese and his partner. He tries to escape, and he ends up leading the officers at the top of the building. And I thought it was a cool sequence of his powers, because he's still trying to figure them out and he's still learning, and some powers are kind of like coming to him. But yeah, that sequence was pretty neat, how like time was going by slow and he was like feeling the wind, and it was because there were like some wind pipes, wind satellites, I'm not sure what to call them. It could have been like those solar glass thingies that were on top of the buildings. I thought it was a nice sequence. I thought it was pretty cool. But then yeah, he gets captured and interrogated. And the partner, I don't know. I think the partner was there for comic relief. He should be more serious because he is a police officer, He is then greeted by his best friend Milo in jail, and towards the end of their conversation, Morbius notices that he's walking, and he also gave Morbius a blood bag. And so obviously he's like, what the heck? So he must have been in my office. And yeah, it turns out that he did inject himself with that bat blood. And Morbius obviously notices that he took it, and so he breaks out of jail and he goes in to confront him. Morbius is telling him, why did you do this? I'm trying to figure this out. But Milo is telling him, he's been kicked to the curb so many times all his life that, he just wanted a chance to be normal again. And he's like, you're my best friend. It should have been us doing this together. Milo actually is aware of his vampireness because he fully embraced it. He scared off a New Yorker, and then when they're in the subway, he actually like kills a few police officers. It almost seems like he controlled it in a way, but he turns into a vampire. He's trying to like scare off Morbius. There's like it's like a small fight, but it's still cool. I love the designs of the looks of the vampires. Morbius's design looks awesome. The visual effects look awesome, and even for Milo. And the fight scene is pretty cool. It was short, yeah, but it's not like it's not the big action piece yet. There's that scene where it's in the trailer where Morbius is flying in the subway. How that happened, I think, is neat as well, because as I mentioned about how he was right before he was captured on the top of the building where like the air was surrounding him. Again, this happened, like everything slowed down. He's like feeling the air, and I'm assuming it had to do with like the subway, because bats have that sonar power, and so that's for sure playing into effect as the subway's approaching, and the winds are covering him, and he just has a sense of like mystery and like, oh, like something's happening. And then he just turns around and starts flying. And yeah, like I thought that's pretty cool, because it's a I'm not saying he's a hero, but it's a hero finding out his powers. It was really interesting. It was really neat, I thought. And then we see like a scene from Spider-Man 3, where Toby's just like when he's dancing and stuff. Milo's getting ready and he's like singing and he's dancing. I was like, oh my god, this feels exactly like Spider-Man 3 in that sense. Because obviously he's embracing his power. He enjoys, as Topher Grace Venom said it, I like being bad. And yeah, he goes to a bar, and then he has like problems with a couple people from the bar, and so basically the people at the bar, they tell him to scram, and so he does leave, but he waits at the top of the building until they leave themselves. And once they come out, he comes down and kills them, and that makes news. People think it's Morbius for the fact that Morbius has already been in the news because he was last seen on that ship or has some type of relationship with the bats, and they kind of get a sense of a vampire. But yeah, it's not him, it's Milo. Then Milo goes and sees Ed Harris, which is the doctor that's been helping both of them their whole life. There's kind of some conflict because Ed Harris is saying, you're doing this wrong, which he is, and Milo thinks Ed Harris the doctor is just siding with Morbius, but he's not. He's trying to just tell him, you gotta chill. You need to work around this. You are not right. You're not right mentally, and you're going about this the wrong way. You're killing people. And Milo ends up killing him. So after Morbius looks for a lab because his lab has been confiscated by the police, he overhears some teenagers talking about like printing money illegally or whatever, or fake money, and he follows them back to like a building or like a subway, and they go down the stairs and they have like a whole printing money lab, and he basically tells him to scram. He threatens him and tells him to scram, and then he ends up turning that lab facility into his lab facility. I'm like, it doesn't make sense because the original was for printing money, and then he turns it into his lab for trying to figure out the serum and bat stuff going on. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Even if you are like a really smart person, it doesn't really make sense. And yeah, he's working with his coworker slash girlfriend, and that's kind of when they have their first kiss when they're on top of the roof and they're, talking about what's going on, what's going to happen. And yeah, they have their first kiss, but to me, that it wasn't believable for the fact that they showed no sign of romance at all. There's a brief dialogue earlier in the film where Morbius talks about that girl, and he's like, yeah, I've worked with her my whole life, or for a very long time. So yeah, there's a relationship there. There is chemistry there, but over this course of the movie, you don't feel like it's a romantic relationship. And yeah, so they kiss, and I'm like, what the hell? I just didn't buy it. And somehow Milo can see them from like across the bridge or something. He's like, oh no, like you're having it good, you got the girl and you have these powers and you're not like using them. So that pisses him off. So Morbius goes to talk to the doctor, Ed Harris's character, and Morbius finds the doctor and he's like on his last breath. He's dying, but not before giving him some encouraging words, that he has to stop Milo. And so yeah, it sucks. He lost someone very important to him. Then Morbius comes to find out that Milo took his girlfriend too. And so, yeah, now Morbius has to go after Milo and basically kill him. And I thought the action sequences were top notch. And even before they started fighting, like, Morbius is flying through the buildings. And it's the visual effects, like I said, they look really great. Like I said, that's what got me interested in this movie, the visual effects. And yeah, like it looks awesome to see. And then so yeah, they end up fighting in like a construction site, and then they go down below into like a subway. And yeah, like I said, the visual effects look good, special effects look good, the action sequences look awesome. And Morbius almost dies, but he gets that sense and he gets that power in him, and he like uses the bats that were like in his cage, glass cylinder cage back at the lab. Somehow he's able to connect with them. I'm assuming using like the sonar radar thingy, because his ears start having like the little bat ears. And so yeah, he's able to summon them and they all like attack Milo. And I did mention this forgettable movie. He dies, but I forgot how he dies. I think maybe something falls on him. I can't remember. But yeah, basically he dies with the help of the bats. And so, I mean, they're both bats, but the bats from one person were able to kill the other bat. So, I don't know. It was bat on bat crime. And yeah, that is basically the movie. The trailers showed stuff that wasn't in this film. Like I mentioned, there was some more character development that was missing with Tyrese's character. There were some scenes with the doctor where, of just dialogue. And then how I feel the need to go to Costa Rica or like wherever it wasn't explained in this movie. And I think I would have liked to see that, because yeah, like, what's the motive? Why does he have to go to Costa Rica? What's there? And so that wasn't fully explained. And then the whole Nobel Prize thing, like, just give us a little bit more character development. Like it actually goes a long way for the audience. I mean, yeah, I'm speaking for myself, but that's how I think that people enjoy these little things, and it just makes us grab onto them, kind of like relate to them and feel for these characters. But no, this movie definitely lacked in that area. Other things that were not in this movie were the larger connection to the Spider-Man universe. This is a Spider-Man villain, and this is the Sony universe. But in the trailers, you get a shot of Morbius walking by a mural of Spider-Man, and it says murder on it. And that Spider-Man is actually Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man because it's in his costume. Another shot in the trailer, you get a beautiful skyline shot of Oscorp Tower. And to me, it's the Oscorp Tower from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man universe because it's the same logo. And also in the trailers, you get more scenes of Michael Keaton's Vulture. Like in the first teaser trailer, there was a scene of Morbius walking by, and Michael Keaton's Vulture goes, "What's up, Doc?" You know. And in the latest trailer, the final trailer, he has like a whole conversation and giving him like pointers, and it's just his voiceover over the trailer, but you don't see that in the movie. And I did see that with the success of Spider-Man No Way Home kind of affected this movie in a way, and that was said by the director. But see, Sony shouldn't be like that because they obviously tried to rush another movie into building a universe, and that was The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And look how that movie came out. You know, it basically rebooted that Spider-Man, and it became Tom Holland going into the MCU. So it's not good to rush things. I feel you should just concentrate on trying to tell a good story, trying to make a good movie, rather than, oh, we gotta add this here, we gotta add that here, so it pays off later. Like, no, like I said, that's what happens with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. They shoehorn Green Goblin, they killed Gwen Stacy, for the future. They have Rhino, they brought the Gentleman, and they basically introduced like the other villains for the Sinister Six costumes. Like, they tried to do too much, and you can just tell the movie was just like shot by shot by shot. There was no cohesive storytelling, and this movie suffered from it because they are trying to get back into another Sinister Six movie for this Sony universe. And so yeah, let's talk about the post-credit scenes, because both post-credit scenes have to do with the MCU, Michael Keaton's Vulture. So the first one, it's the sky opening up, just like how it was in Spider-Man No Way Home when it rippled up and the enemies from the variants from other universes were coming in. So the sky opens up and you're in a jail cell, and magically, Michael Keaton's Vulture appears. Now, I think if that was to be me, if I was to appear in somewhere I'm not familiar with, I would freak out. But no, man. It was funny because when he appeared and he's like, he's like what the heck's going on? He doesn't say it, but that's what he's doing. He's checking himself out. And there's a mirror. He looks into the mirror, and all he says was, "Man, I hope the food's better in this joint." Like, bruh, really? That's all you're gonna say? Like, you're in a different universe. Or if that's too big for you at the time, okay, you're in a place where you're not familiar with. How did I end up here? That's all you gotta say. I hope the food's better up in this joint. That was just stupid. So, okay, whatever. MCU Vulture is now in the Sony universe, which to me doesn't logically make sense, because in the spell for No Way Home, you had villains from other universes going into the MCU. And Venom. Venom is a Sony universe villain, and he was taken into the MCU. Yes, it was just basically to get the symbiote, so they have the symbiote in the Marvel universe. But you get the idea that there's the villains from other universes are appearing in the MCU. And this one, it just seems like Sony, basically they're like there are no rules. Fuck it, we'll just draft Michael Keaton's Vulture and we'll draft him to be in our universe. Like, they had Spidey has other villains in the MCU universe that they could have picked, but they picked Michael Keaton Vulture, which Doesn't make sense in their grander scale, but it makes sense because Michael Keaton is Michael Keaton. You know, he's an amazing actor, and I'm sure they're looking for him to Godfather the new Sinister Six in the Sony universe. But like I said, the larger scale, it doesn't make sense. That's not how they were showing the spell works. You know, it wasn't people. Okay, now people can leave. We're drafting. We're exchanging that villain for this villain in this universe. No, it was just other variants from other universes were appearing in the MCU. And yeah, it still pisses me off to this day. But the last post credit scene was, it doesn't say how much time has been since the movie ended. We see Morbius in like a Lamborghini or whatever, which is like, dude, you can fly, you know? Fly to wherever you have to be. But I mean, I guess he has the coordinates and so that and the GPS, so that's where it is. And then he ends up stopping at a field, and out of nowhere, Michael Keaton in his vulture costume appears. First off, where the hell does he get his costume? Because as I understand, in this universe, there hasn't been a Spider-Man established yet. Like, all we had in this brand new Sony Spider-Man villain universe is Venom, you know? So there hasn't been a Spider-Man established, especially because Venom is a product of Spider-Man. And obviously, because they don't have Spider-Man in this universe, they made a Venom movie without him. So that kind of already gave me an idea of like, okay, well, they're not going to have a Spider-Man then. They're just going to do the villains. And so, yeah, there's no Spider-Man, there's no Oscorp, there's nothing. And so where does he get this suit? As we saw in the movie in Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming, he's not a scientist. He can't just put a suit together. He had other people do that for him, you know? So, I don't know. It makes me more to believe that this universe is in Andrew Garfield's universe. Yes, I have mentioned that Tobey's Spider-Man mural was in a shot in this movie, and Andrew Garfield's Oscorp was in another shot. So it's like you don't know. And then obviously Michael Keaton, that's Tom Holland. All three Spider-Man were present in a trailer. But what makes me believe that it's in Andrew Garfield's universe was at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 in Oscorp, which I said Oscorp is the same logo than from Amazing Spider-Man 2, and in the first teaser trailer, it's the same logo. And at the end of that movie, when the gentleman is walking by, you actually see a Vulture costume. Yes, it doesn't look the same as that as the one Michael Keaton had, but you know, to make it make sense, it could be, yeah, this is Andrew Garfield universe because there was already a Vulture costume ready to go. But like I said, everything's not established yet, so it doesn't make sense. And so he appears and he talks to him. He's saying that he doesn't know what's going on, but he has a feeling it has to do with Spider-Man. And so basically he gives out a line that that a 5-year-old can say. He's like, I think you and I should team up and do some good. And Morbius is just like, intriguing. Like he says it all weird like that. But in this movie, we get a sense that Morbius is a good guy. You know, we have no indication to believe that he's a bad character or he's gonna be bad. And he's a scientist. So even if Michael Keaton is like lying to him, I would think Morbius could be like, nah, you're lying, you know? But no, he says interesting. And Michael Keaton is like, team up, let's team up. I'm sorry, man. That's just weak. That's like weak dialogue as hell. That's a 5-year-old can write that, you know? So it doesn't make sense in the larger scale. Morbius was depicted as a good guy in this movie. And where the hell did Michael Keaton get that suit? And yeah, I just feel those two post-credit scenes are awful. And that was just a big pile of doo-doo. But in the end, I still found this movie enjoyable. You know, some people can even say, and like if you were to tell me that you found it more enjoyable than Venom, I won't debate you. You know, because Venom to me, both Venom movies are a disappointment. Because see, I grew up with that character. I love Venom as long as I can remember. I grew up with that character in video games, TV shows, comics. Venom to me has never been what he is in the movies now. Just like almost a shtick. Like he's just immature. In Let There Be Carnage, he literally says every main bad word. Like he's just a freaking kid. He's so immature. And so to me that's a disappointment in that character. And that was just all like fun and games, those Venom movies. Yes, there was some seriousness to it, obviously, but it's just like a comedy action thing. Where this one, yes, you know, there was some funny moments and stuff, but it took itself seriously. And so, in that aspect, it could be better than those Venom movies because they tried to stay true to the character and they tried, obviously, to make their own thing. Even though, like I said, it was forgettable, but you know they went for it, and yeah, it took itself serious. Where Venom, a character that we all know and love, they turned him into a joke, and to me that's just a disappointment. So yeah, like if you were to tell me you enjoyed Morbius more, I would not tell you anything. I wouldn't debate it at all. You know, and it sucks to say that because like I said, I love Venom. I love Venom for as long as I can remember. But at the end of the day, this movie is forgettable. Like I said, when you watch it, you can find some enjoyment in it. I'll give you that. All the trailers made it out to seem like there is a good movie in there somewhere, but that's not what we were told. That's not what we were given. And we will see where it goes because, like I mentioned, they're building into another Sinister Six. And right now, Sony has Kraven the Hunter movie in development. And so we'll see what they're trying to do. Hopefully, with this, kind of checks them and make them change course just a little bit. Because, like I said earlier, they should just focus on the storytelling. Just try to make a good movie surrounding the character. Don't Don't go to a project and try to build for the future. No, that's not how it should be. Hopefully, they learn from their mistakes. Yes, I mean they haven't done that yet, but hopefully they learn from their mistakes going forward because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. You know, he's my main character, and I've always loved seeing all these characters, especially in the '90s animated show. And so I am interested in these characters, but I want to see a good movie. I want to see a good origin story. I want to see good storytelling. Don't shoehorn stuff in and then like in the trailers show us and then take it all out. Like, no. Just please build a better movie. Please, Sony, get y'all asses in check. Be better. And yeah, because I'm still a supporter. But that is it. That is my review and thoughts on Morbius. If you guys have seen it, what did you guys think about it? Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys enjoy it more than Venom? Or was it just a flop for you guys too? But whatever you guys thought, comment below and let me know. And if you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do so. That would mean an awful lot to me. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.